Students, having learnt about the colonization in the world, let us now have a deeper look at India. Let us look at the status of the country between 1939 and 1947, how the various events led to the partition of India, freedom for India, and so on. Students, we have learnt in detail about the outbreak of Second World War. Now, let us learn what is the role of India in the Second World War.
When the Second World War began in the year 1939, many of the provinces in our country were ruled by Congress ministries.
This was the time when the British accepted that the right to rule the Indians must be given to the Indian to some extent.
According to the Government of India Act 1935, passed by the British Parliament, elections were to be held in the provinces and the governments were formed by the parties that win the elections.
But the right to vote was given to only some sections of the population, while 12% was given to the provincial assemblies, 1% was given to Central Assembly. In 1937, when the elections were conducted for the assemblies of the 11 provinces of the British India, Congress won at most of the places.
Out of the 11 places, 8 had a Congress Prime Minister who worked under the supervision of the British governor.
It was at the same time during which the world was sent for the Second World War. It was here that the Congress leaders had a challenge in front of them.
The challenge was whether to support the British in the war against Germany, Japan, Italy, and other powers.
But the British did not consult the leaders for their opinion and have decided that India will participate in the war. One can find reasons both for and against supporting the Second World War. The Congress was confused about what to do about the situation.
Many of the Congress leaders were against the leaders like Hitler, Mussolini, and the ideology of fascism, which is an authoritarian form of government. They decided to counter the fascists to win over other sovereign nations.
At the same time, Congress thought that the British would think on their double standards with regard to their expectations that India would support them in fighting against fascism and not giving or promising full freedom to the country. Although the British realized this, it was difficult for them to break the empire that they have built. Students, if we look at the parties in Britain, there were many political parties.
When the war broke, there was an all-party government that was headed by Prime Minister Winston Churchill from the Conservative Party.
While the Conservatives were very eager to continue the empire as long as possible, there was another party, the Labour Party, which was interested in helping Indians achieve freedom. However, the British were willing to give our country dominion status under the British Crown after some time from the war. But the Congress wanted a promise of full freedom from the British. In addition, the Congress also demanded the setting up of a national government at the centre. The British were not in favour for this, as they pointed out that they had to protect the interests of other communities in India. Students, what you have to understand here is that the British meant that Congress did not represent some communities like the Muslims. In addition, the British also implied that Congress may be ignoring the interests of many Indians, and the British thought they had to protect their interests. Upset with the firmness of the British over full freedom to India, the Congress made a decision to walk out of the provincial governments. In October 1939, all the Congress ministries resigned while they came to power in 1937. At this point of time, the government gave itself special powers for the war to maintain law and order and be able to aim at the winning the war. Any individual who opposed the government would be imprisoned without delay and would remain there for a long time without going to court.
The freedom of speech also was restricted. From 1940 to 1941, the Congress took to many individual satyagrahas to pressurize the rulers to assure freedom once the war came to an end. There was no major mass protest.